He walked in quietly. No announcement, no entourage, just confidence and purpose. Enough to make them uncomfortable. They didn't ask who he was. They just looked at him, laughed behind fake smiles, and told him to leave. Mocked, dismissed, pushed out like a problem. But he didn't raise his voice. He didn't fight back with anger. He stood his ground and watched as their certainty shattered. What happens when the person you humiliate turns out to own the building you're standing in? This isn't just a story about race or class. It's about what people reveal when they think no one is watching. The rain had dried, but the street still held the memory of it. Wet cobblestone gleamed under Boston's dim evening lights. Dominic Reid stepped out of the black sedan, his sneakers making soft contact with the pavement. His charcoal hoodie was zipped up to his chest, hands tucked inside. The Monarch Hotel towered ahead of him, glass gleaming, polished stone glinting. The building was part of his legacy 51%, enough to control, not enough to be seen. He entered. The lobby was exactly what he'd designed on paper. Marble floors, brass railings, velvet lounge chairs arranged with symmetry. A fireplace flickered in the back. Jazz hummed from hidden speakers. Dominic approached the front desk. Behind the counter stood a young woman in her early 20s, hair perfectly styled, navy blazer, fitted precisely. Vanessa, her name tag read. She looked up, blinked, then looked down again, tapping her keyboard with indifference. Dominic cleared his throat gently. "Hi, I have a reservation. Name's Reid." Vanessa didn't meet his eyes. "First name?" "Dominic." A pause. Tap, tap. She frowned. Nothing under Dominic Reid. "That's strange. Try Reid or under Corporate Reid Hospitality Group. It should be for a suite." Her tone shifted, clinical. "Do you have a confirmation number?" "No, but..." "Without a number, I can't verify your booking. Sorry." Dominic's jaw tightened, but he kept his voice even. "It was booked internally. You should see a note attached. I believe it's Suite 1, 701. Vanessa tapped again, sighing slightly. "There's a booking under Reid Hospitality, but that's reserved for senior execs, corporate clients, not walk-ins." Dominic let the silence stretch. "Then that's me." She blinked, then smirked. "You're with corporate?" "I'm the CEO." The smirk hardened into skepticism. She reached under the desk and tapped a small call button. "Just a moment," she said, and disappeared into the back room. Two guests, well-dressed and affluent, entered the lobby behind him. They walked straight to the other clerk. Smiles, small talk, keys handed over in seconds. Catherine stepped into view. The security officer, mid-40s, with a pale ex-military stance. Her hand rested on her belt, not on her weapon, but close enough to speak volumes. "Sir, is there a problem here?" Dominic faced her calmly. "No, just trying to check in." "Gotcha. Just hanging around the desk then?" "I have a reservation," he said. "I've already explained that." Behind her, the office door opened. Rebecca, the night manager, emerged. Mid-40s, with carefully styled blonde hair and lipstick too red for the hour, clipboard in hand like a weapon. "Evening. I hear there's some confusion." Dominic answered calmly. "No confusion. I'm checking in." "The suite under Reid Hospitality was arranged under my name, Dominic Reid." Rebecca smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Oh, I see. Unfortunately, we can't assign that suite without prior corporate confirmation. It's protocol." "I'm the CEO," Dominic said again. "I'm the one who arranged it." Rebecca paused. "Do you have ID?" Dominic handed over his license and business card. Rebecca took them without warmth, glanced at them for all of 2 seconds, and handed them back. "You look different from what I expected," she said. Dominic didn't blink. "What did you expect?" Rebecca's smile faltered. "We've had impersonation issues before. You understand?" "No, I don't." Rebecca gestured toward the lounge area. "Perhaps you could wait over there while we verify?" Dominic didn't move. "I'll stand here." Then came the interruption, a quiet shuffle behind the front desk. Walter, housekeeping, late 60s, white skin weathered by years of labor, hair thinning, uniform spotless. He stepped quietly to retrieve supplies. Rebecca noticed. "Walter, you don't need to be here right now." Walter glanced at Dominic, then whispered as he passed, "You just stand still, son. Let them dig their hole." Dominic almost smiled, but then Vanessa said, "You sure this is your hotel?" Dominic turned his head. "I didn't say it was mine. I said I run it." Rebecca crossed her arms. "It's just odd. The reservation came from corporate, but your name wasn't listed on the file." "It wouldn't be. I booked it anonymously." Rebecca's voice sharpened. Why would a CEO book a suite without announcing themselves? Dominic stepped forward to see how the staff treated strangers. Then the glass door swung open. A woman walked in, older, sharp eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, dressed simply but neatly. She paused when she saw Dominic. "Evening, sir." She nodded politely. "Evening, ma'am." "That look," she said. "I recognize that look. Back in the day, this place made me feel the same way, like I'd wandered somewhere I wasn't invited." Dominic studied her. "But you're here now?" "I am. My granddaughter just got hired here. I came to see how they'd treat someone like her." She looked around the lobby. "Seems I came on the right day." Walter returned with a glass of water and set it beside Dominic without a word. The silence said everything. Dominic took the glass, then reached into his pocket and dialed. "This is Reid," he said, eyes locked on Rebecca. "Activate the Boston file now." He ended the call, then placed the phone gently on the counter. "I suggest you check again." His mind slipped to another night, somewhere darker, earlier. A hallway, fluorescent lights flickering. He was 16, pushing a mop through the hospital corridor. His father, in pale scrubs, leaned over a gurney. "You didn't have to come," his father had said softly. "I wanted to," Dominic had replied, but he hadn't. Not really. He had to. Rent was late. Power had been cut off. They needed that overtime. His first paycheck went straight into a jar marked "Own Something." It stared at him every morning like a dare. Now, standing in the lobby of the empire he built, that same fire burned behind his ribs. But there were other memories. Age 24, folding sheets in a roadside motel. One guest called him "boy." Another snapped his fingers. At 26, applying for a front desk manager position, a woman with a perfect manicure told him, "You're very articulate, but we're looking for someone more aligned with the brand aesthetic." By 30, he was managing 3 properties. By 35, he controlled more keys than the woman who'd once said he didn't look the part. But this lobby proved something. The jar on the fridge had filled. The suits were sharper. The title was real. And yet, nothing had changed in their eyes. Vanessa saw sneakers, not stature. Rebecca saw skin tone before credentials. Catherine saw a security risk, not a CEO. The silence after Dominic ended the call was thick. No one moved. Rebecca folded her arms across her clipboard, voice clipped. "Who did you just call exactly?" Dominic didn't answer immediately. Instead, he glanced toward the couple at the bar, then turned back to Rebecca. Someone who knows how to recognize a mistake when they see one. A notification buzzed on Vanessa's monitor. She clicked it and froze. She whispered something to Rebecca, whose eyes snapped up. She stared at Dominic. then vanished into the back office. Dominic waited. No more words, just waiting. Like a storm that had already formed, and all that was left was the sound of thunder catching up to the light. Then the ringtone buzzed softly in his palm. Yes? A voice replied, calm, female, clipped with authority. We're 4 minutes out. Naomi's with me. Front lobby, you'll know. He hung up. Inside, Vanessa typed furiously now, checking names, cross-referencing files. Walter stepped out of the staff hallway, gloves still on, rag in hand. He glanced at the older woman, then asked, "You still got that clip saved?" The woman nodded. "Good," Walter said. "Don't delete truth just because it makes people squirm." Near the far side of the lobby, Dominic noticed a young woman standing half in shadow. Tessa, the intern, 22, maybe younger. She was holding her phone chest high, screen tilted forward. Recording. Dominic's eyes locked with hers. Tessa froze. Then slowly, she lowered the phone. Tessa stepped forward tentatively. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have." Dominic stopped her with a look. "Why were you filming?" Tessa hesitated. "Because I didn't know what else to do. I saw how they were treating you, and it didn't feel right." Walter's voice chimed in. "Then keep the record. The truth doesn't need permission." Tessa looked unsure. "But what if it backfires?" Walter smiled, a little sad, a little proud. "Then at least you'll know how you didn't back down." Dominic stepped closer to Tessa. "You're not wrong to be scared, but fear doesn't make you a coward. Silence does." The revolving door spun again. 2 women entered. Alexandra Winters, Naomi Parker. The atmosphere cracked the moment they stepped in. Alexandra scanned the room. "You good?" "I stayed," Dominic said. "They didn't." Naomi stepped forward, removing a folded email from her folder. "We sent out the audit notice 2 weeks ago. Said you'd be visiting incognito. Property heads were told to brief all shifts." Dominic's voice was quiet. "Looks like they didn't." Rebecca reemerged just in time to see the 2 women standing there. Her steps faltered. Alexandra raised an eyebrow. "Manager Rebecca Frost?" "Yes," she said too quickly. "Why is our CEO standing outside his lobby, being questioned by security and denied access to his suite?" Rebecca started. "It wasn't confirmed." "He gave you his name," Naomi cut in. "He showed ID. He booked it under corporate, same as all our executives. We've had impersonators before." "You didn't ask for confirmation," Dominic said coldly. "You asked me to step aside. You summoned security. You made me feel like a trespasser." Alexandra stepped forward. "We're not here to argue. We're here to document failure. Yours." Naomi placed the printed memo on the counter. "You've all been trained. You've all been reminded. But clearly, reminders don't reach hearts hardened by habit." Dominic turned to Rebecca. His voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. "You thought I didn't belong. You looked at me and saw a mistake." Rebecca's face drained of color. "And now?" Dominic asked. No answer. He didn't expect one. Naomi stepped to the front desk, sliding the memo across the polished surface like a court summons. Rebecca stared at it but didn't reach out. Dominic's voice came low and even. "This suite wasn't just for me. It was for observation. Quiet, anonymous, honest observation." Rebecca broke the silence. "I didn't know you were coming." "That was the point," Dominic replied. "When you know we're watching, you serve smiles. But tonight was real." Alexandra moved closer to the front desk. The memo didn't just say he was coming. It said he could arrive at any time, in any form, and you were to treat every guest like they were him. That was the test. Naomi reached into her coat and pulled out a small tablet. She tapped a few buttons, then held it up. The lobby screen behind the desk lit up. A paused frame filled the screen. Dominic at the counter, Vanessa leaning away, Catherine's stance aggressive. She pressed play. Voices rang out, too clear, too sharp. When it ended, silence fell again, deeper this time. Tessa stepped forward. There's more, she said. I recorded it too. Alexandra nodded once. Send it to my office immediately. Rebecca stepped back. You're seriously going to use footage from an intern? Dominic responded. I'm going to use the truth. I don't care whose hands it comes from. Outside the conference room, the older woman stood quietly against the wall. Her granddaughter, Layla, stood beside her, hands wringing a napkin into knots. She saw it all, the woman said softly. Didn't say a word last night, but she watched. I thought if I said something, they'd send me home, Layla whispered. You don't need their silence, Dominic said. You need your voice. I don't want to lose this job. Then do it better than they ever expected, and never forget what silence looks like, so you never wear it. The next morning, Dominic stood before the gathered staff. You all know who I am now, he began. But last night, most of you didn't, and the way I was treated proved that it didn't matter. Naomi clicked the remote. The projector flickered to life. Still, images from the security footage appeared. Dominic continued. This wasn't a one-time mistake. It was muscle memory, an instinct rooted in assumptions. And if it happened to me, it could happen to any guest who didn't look like the brochure. Alexandra stepped in. As of this morning, Rebecca Frost has been placed on indefinite suspension pending investigation. Security personnel are being rotated out for retraining. Vanessa will enter a 30-day probation period. All staff will undergo bias training immediately. Dominic raised his hand. No one is being punished for asking questions. You're being held accountable for how you ask them, and why. He turned to Tessa. Last night, you recorded what happened, not for attention, but for truth. That's integrity. Tessa has been offered a position to continue her training with us beyond this internship. Walter cleared his throat gently. Sir, if I may, I've worked here since the doors opened. I've seen staff come and go. But last night I saw you stand your ground without raising your voice, and for the first time in a long time, I felt proud to wear this uniform. Naomi added, This isn't just a reset. It's a reckoning. From this point on, every employee across the Reid Group will be reminded, your bias is your liability. Later, Dominic stood in the center of the lobby. What happened last night wasn't new, he said. It wasn't rare, it wasn't unexpected. That's what makes it so dangerous. He turned slightly, meeting Vanessa's gaze. You didn't see me. You saw a problem. Then to Catherine, you didn't assess a situation. You sized up a stranger. Finally, he looked at Rebecca. And you didn't enforce policy. You enforced bias. I didn't need you to know who I was. Dominic continued. I needed you to treat me the way you would anyone else. The fact that it didn't happen means we failed at the most basic level, not as employees but as people. If you need a name tag, or a suit, or a title to offer someone dignity, you're in the wrong line of work. Your bias is your liability. Your assumptions are your risk. Rebecca's voice broke through, small but steady. I made a mistake. You made a choice, Dominic corrected. The mistake was thinking there wouldn't be consequences. Dominic turned away, then paused. This lobby doesn't need to remember my name. It needs to remember this moment, because how you treat someone when you think no one is watching, that's who you are. He walked past the front desk. Walter gave a small, firm nod. Dominic didn't smile, but he walked taller. He didn't need to raise his voice to leave an echo.